Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to spot a speck in someone else's eye and yet so hard to see the log in our own? From a psychological perspective, this behavior is quite common among humans. We tend to focus more on others' flaws, often overlooking our own imperfections. Why is that? Well, it's largely due to a psychological phenomenon known as projection. We project our own insecurities and shortcomings onto others, making it easier to notice their faults rather than face our own. But what if we could change this? What if we could turn our judgmental gaze inward and become more self-aware? Well, self-awareness is a powerful tool that can help us recognize and understand our own behaviors and patterns. It's like holding up a mirror to our own selves, examining our own flaws instead of others. Why do we have such a skewed mirror? It's time to flip it. Ever heard of the term projection? It's not just about movie theaters. Let's delve into the fascinating world of psychology for a moment. In psychology, projection is a defense mechanism where we unconsciously transfer our own attributes, feelings, or thoughts to someone else. It's like casting our internal movie onto someone else's screen, often without even realizing it. Imagine you're in a room with a mirror. Instead of seeing your reflection, you see someone else. You point out their messy hair, their stained shirt, but here's the twist. Those faults aren't theirs, they're yours. You're simply projecting them onto the other person. Now, why do we do this? It's a way for our mind to cope with difficult feelings or emotions. When we're not comfortable accepting a certain part of ourselves, we might project that part onto others. It's a subconscious way to avoid dealing with our own imperfections. Take, for example, the common scenario of a person who tends to be overly critical of others. They might constantly point out how selfish everyone else is, how everyone is just out for themselves. But what's really happening here? It's quite likely that this person is projecting their own selfish tendencies onto others, finding it easier to see and criticize these traits in others than confront them within themselves. And this is where the concept of finding faults in others but not in ourselves comes into play. It's not that we're blind to our own faults. Rather, it's that our minds have found a clever way to deal with them, by projecting them onto others. But remember, projection isn't always about negative traits. We can also project our positive attributes onto others. It's a complex mechanism, one that reveals the intricacies of our human psyche. So, we are essentially projecting our shadows onto others. Intriguing, isn't it? Now, let's talk about the antidote to this skewed perception: self-awareness. Self-awareness, in its simplest form, is understanding your own needs, desires, failings, habits, and everything else that makes you tick. The more you know about yourself, the better you are at adapting life changes that suit your needs. Imagine self-awareness as a mirror reflecting not just your physical appearance, but your inner self, your thoughts, your actions, and your motivations. This mirror doesn't lie, it doesn't sugarcoat, it shows you as you are, not as you wish to be. And that can be a challenging sight to behold. You might be wondering, why is self-awareness important? Why should we bother looking into this mirror? Well, recognizing our own faults is the first step towards personal growth. If we don't know what's wrong, how can we fix it? If we can't see our own mistakes, how can we learn from them? Self-awareness is not about being hard on ourselves, it's about being honest with ourselves. It's about accepting that we are not perfect, and that's perfectly fine, because it's not perfection that defines us, it's how we deal with our imperfections. Moreover, self-awareness can lead to better relationships with others. When we are aware of our own faults, we become more understanding and forgiving of others. We realize that just like us, others are also flawed, and that's okay. We all are works in progress. Improving self-awareness is not a one-time task, but a continuous process. It's like peeling an onion layer by layer, discovering new things about ourselves as we delve deeper. It's a journey of exploration, of introspection, and of self-discovery. Yes, this journey might be tough. Looking into the mirror of self-awareness can be uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it's a journey worth undertaking, because the destination is a place of understanding, of acceptance, and of personal growth. The journey towards self-awareness might be a tough one, but it's worth every step. So, how can we cultivate this self-awareness? The journey towards self-awareness is like traveling on a winding road with an ever-changing landscape. It is a continuous process, with each step revealing a new layer of understanding about our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. So let's delve into some practical ways to foster this essential trait. First off, self-reflection plays a pivotal role. This is not about self-judgment or criticism, but rather an honest look at our own actions and reactions. It's about asking ourselves the tough questions. Why did I react that way? What triggered that emotion? How can I handle this differently next time? By regularly setting aside quiet time for introspection, we can start to uncover patterns in our behavior and identify areas for growth. Next, we have meditation. This ancient practice is more than just relaxation, it's a powerful tool for enhancing self-awareness. By focusing on our breath or a particular mantra, we can quiet the mind and tune into our inner selves. As we sit in silence, we become observers of our thoughts and feelings, learning to recognize them without getting swept up in them. Over time, this practice can help us become more aware of our internal states and how they influence our actions. Another powerful method is seeking feedback from others. It can be uncomfortable to hear how others perceive us, but it's an invaluable resource for growth. Whether it's a close friend, a family member, or a mentor, ask them for their honest perspective. Listen to their observations without defensiveness, reflect on them, and use them as a guide for self-improvement. Finally, practicing mindfulness can significantly enhance our self-awareness. Mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment without judgment. It's about noticing the sensations in our body, the thoughts in our mind, the emotions in our heart. By being mindful, we can begin to recognize our automatic reactions and make a conscious choice to respond differently. This can lead to more balanced emotions, better decision-making, and improved relationships. These methods are not a quick fix, but rather tools to help us on our journey towards self-awareness. They require practice, patience, and perseverance. But over time, we can start to see shifts in our perceptions and behaviors. We can become more in tune with our emotions, more understanding of our reactions, and more empathetic towards others. So, let's start this journey today. Let's reflect on our actions, meditate in silence, seek feedback, and practice mindfulness. Let's take these steps towards understanding ourselves better, towards becoming more self-aware. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. It's easy to spot the faults in others, but the real challenge lies in recognizing our own. As we near the end of our discussion, let's take a moment to reflect on the essential points we've covered. We started by acknowledging a universal truth: our inclination to easily judge others, often overlooking the fact that we might be mirroring the same faults. Remember, it's like standing before a mirror of judgment, where the reflection we see is not of others, but of ourselves. We then delved into the psychology behind this behavior. We learned that this tendency is a defense mechanism, a way to cope with our own insecurities and shortcomings. But as we've discussed, it's a behavior that can be changed. Next, we explored the role of self-awareness. And it's not just about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, it's about understanding your emotions, your beliefs, and how they influence your actions. Self-awareness is the first step towards personal growth. It's the key to breaking free from the cycle of blame and judgment and fostering empathy and understanding instead. Then we discussed practical ways to improve self-awareness. From mindfulness to journaling, from seeking feedback to practicing empathy, there are many strategies that can help us become more self-aware. Remember, the goal is not to become perfect, but to become better versions of ourselves. And that's where the real challenge lies, not in finding faults in others, but in recognizing and addressing our own. It's about holding up the mirror not to judge others, but to see our true reflection. It's about acknowledging our imperfections and using them as stepping stones to personal growth. In the end, remember that self-awareness is not just about personal growth. It's about building healthy relationships, fostering empathy, and creating a more understanding and compassionate world. So, are you ready to hold up the mirror and see your true reflection?